We were taught that fairies belonged to old stories, yet today people are encountering them quietly, unexpectedly, in ordinary life. I'm Claire Casely, a fairy whisperer and your guide on this journey. On the Fairy Whispering podcast, I speak with guests who've met these beings at the edges of perception and the thresholds of the everyday. To catch a fairy whisper, you have to listen closely. Listen with me. Welcome to Fairy Whispering. I'm Claire Casely, your host. Before we begin, I have a little piece of news from my creative world that I'm really happy to share with you. My Heart of Pixieland books are now available for Kindle pre-order on Amazon. And if you enjoy the mythic threads, the quiet magic and the sense of place that runs through this podcast, these books carry that same spirit onto the page. And I'm really thrilled that Joshua Cutchin, author of several acclaimed books about the supernatural and fairies, has written a wonderful foreword to the books. The paperback and hardback editions will be available for pre-order in July, and all formats, Kindle, paperback and hardback, will be published on Monday the 13th of July. It's been a long, heartfelt project, shaped in the middle of moving house, renovating and finding my feet here again in my new home. So if you choose to pre-order or simply share the news with someone who might love these books, it means a great deal. And now let's step into today's episode. Today we step into the quiet, resonant world of ancient sites. Places where stone, sky and story meet in ways that still shape us. In this episode, I'm joined by Palden Jenkins, affectionately nicknamed Palden Kenobi, who is an astrologer, writer and long-time explorer of the sacred landscapes of Glastonbury and Penwith. Palden shares the moment that set him on his path, a transformative experience in an Orkney stone circle that opened the door to dreams, insights, and a lifelong relationship with earth energies. We talk about the consciousness of ancient sites, the significance of stone circles and crop formations, and the ways these places act as energy centres that deepen our awareness. Palden also reflects on the grassroots movements emerging around the world, communities reconnecting with nature, creativity and sustainable ways of living, and talks with wisdom and humility about living with myeloma, a bone marrow cancer, and his relationship with death and dying. On his Penwith Beyond blog, Palden says, "To some people, I am an interesting veteran oddbod with a way of seeing things and saying it that rings bells and lights lightbulbs." His blog shares special moments and fascinating snippets, observations on life and the state of the world. This is an episode for anyone who feels the pull of old stones, sacred landscapes, and the subtle forces that shape our world and what it means to be human. And if you'd like early access to episodes and occasional behind-the-scenes reflections from my creative world, you're warmly invited to join the Fairy Whispering Patron community. This is Journey to the Far Beyond with Palden Jenkins. Hello, welcome to the Fairy Whispering podcast, and I'm really pleased to welcome Palden Jenkins, whose work I very much admire and I've been listening to his podcast recently, which is really fascinating and quite comforting, actually. And Palden is an astrologer, a writer. He's done lots of work with the ancient sites in Glastonbury and in Penwith, where he is now, connected with ETs and all sorts of beings. And yeah, there's a whole load of work that you can find of Palden's on his website, which Palden will give you the address for in a moment, because I haven't written it down.
Oh. It's Palden, it's simple, it's palden.co.uk.
Palden.co.uk. So welcome, Palden.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. And yeah, I listened to a recent episode that you did it was linked to the consciousness of ancient sites, but you also said a bit about weather consciousness, so weather wizardry, really, that I know other people that have been involved in that as well. And that's something that's really interesting because it links in with folklore about my area of interest with fairies. But yes, I'd just like to hear some of your thoughts and experiences with ancient sites and your work.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know where to start. Well, where it started for me with ancient sites was that I was a young acid head in the late 1960s, and I was at the London School of Economics and very much involved in the student political uprising that was happening there. And one summer I was really burned out with it all. And I decided to hitchhike out of London, and I landed up in the Orkney Islands. And the chap gave me a lift and dumped me in the middle of the mainland of the Orkneys. And it was a lovely sunny summer's day. And I walked along the road looking for a place to sleep the night, and as we did in those days. And I saw this stone circle, and I never really thought very much about the whole thing, Mm-hmm. But I decided to sleep in the middle of the stone circle, which is something I wouldn't do now unless very, very deliberately. But anyway, I slept in the middle of the stone circle, and during the night I had a very, very vivid dream of hundreds of people in a big circle around the stone circle who were doing this deep, moving, stamping, thumping, chanting kind of chant. It was very, very profound, as you sometimes can get in certain really profound dreams, And then at one stage, one of them came to me and said, come and join us.
Oh, wow.
And I kind of got up in my dream state and I joined them. And from that moment on, I was very much involved with ancient sites, really. And I always had a feeling particularly about the energy fields within ancient sites. I'm talking particularly about the sites which contain space. For example, yes. a menhir doesn't do so. You can't get inside a menhir, but you can get inside a stone circle or an enclosure, or also a natural site, such as a hilltop, or you can get inside a chambered cairn,
yes,
or like that. And inside these, there is in my experience, there is the possibility of being able to go into levels of awareness which aren't really available in most places, even in really nice natural places. There's something very particular about the space inside, say, a stone circle. And I'd say that one of the ingredients there is that it is to do with earth energies from deep within the earth, because stone circles are usually sitting on top of what's called a blind spring. And they're to do with things like astronomical alignments, which hook the energy space into the wider solar system, and they are also related to other sites in the landscape, because a stone circle is never alone in its own right. This is one thing people get wrong. The stone circle is part of a constellation of sites around it, which can often be menhirs or cairns, barrows, and things like that. And it is the total complex, which is really the complete energy space there. But the stone circle itself is usually the center of it, or one of the centers of it.
Yes.
And so inside these kinds of spaces, you can access deeper awareness. The same actually applies to some old churches, such as crypts, and it can apply to mosques. For example, I've done a lot of work in Palestine, and one of the places I used to go to was the Ibrahimi Mosque in Hebron, in the West Bank. And the Ibrahimi Mosque is a very, very ancient Canaanite holy site, which then later on got adopted by Jews, and then by Christians, and then by Muslims. And that is supposed to be the tomb of Abraham or Ibrahim, and also various of the other prophets, and their wives are all there. And it is a really interesting, it's one of those places, when I first went there, it was one of those places where I felt shaky in my knees quite quickly, and I had to sit down. I don't know if you've ever been in one of those places.
Yes, I have, yeah.
But sometimes, it sort of hits you in a really, really remarkable way. And so, you can really feel the power of spirit there, even though I'm neither a Muslim nor a Jew nor a Christian. But you can feel the power of spirit. That's the main thing, And so there are all sorts of places which are like this, but particularly the ancients had a particular knowledge here, which was to do with plugging into earth energy, celestial energy, and all sorts of other factors. And what I propose, really, what I've come to, is that in the megalithic period, which is the Neolithic and the first 2/3 of the Bronze Age, from about, in the southwest of Britain, that's from about 3,700 BCE through to about 1200 BCE. So that's about 2,500-ish years, with ups and downs throughout. And sorry, I've lost my way. Yes, and so I've been working on that, and one of the things I've come to is that culture was actually a very, very advanced culture, even in Britain, or even especially in Britain, where they were not into material advancement as we are. In Britain, they didn't build cities or create vast memorials of, like say the Egyptians or the Mesopotamians did, or the Harappans. But on a deeper level, they were working with something really profound. Because if you go into deeper levels of consciousness, like really genuinely, you're starting to access levels where the rules and the laws work differently. And therefore you can work with the inner components that exist within everything in order to work with them there. And this is the basis of what people nowadays call shamanism.
Yes.
On its highest level. It's about getting inside the processes and the entities which lie behind everything within a tree or in the weather, or on our planet, and in humans. And so this implies that ancient sites were used, or certain ancient sites were used as kind of crucibles within which it was possible to generate some really strong energy in order to achieve various things, where the shamans inside the circle would be able to go into deeper states in order to work with whatever they needed to work with.
Yes.
Which could include things like the weather. It could include things like the fertility of the earth. It could be community matters. It could be healing. It could be medical work. It can be communication on a deeper level with people far away. It can be work with the gods, or the powers which lie within things on a planetary and a universal level.
Yes.
There are people like the Kogi, for example, who came out 30 years ago with their declaration. There was a book called The Heart of the World. And they were talking about how they worked with the mother. They worked with the planet as a whole, what we in the West called Gaia. And in order to keep her happy, and in order to help her in the bringing about of her own agenda. And so there are all these different ways and levels of working. And I had an interesting period as well in the 1990s and early noughties, where I was doing a lot of crop circle research, because when I lived in Glastonbury, it was not very far away to ground zero, which is around Avebury mainly.
Yes.
And the interesting thing there also is the energy fields within the crop formations.
Yeah.
Typically, most Westerners focus on the wheat and the patterns in the wheat and the lay of the corn and the radiation and all this kind of thing. But what I was looking at was the empty space within these, which was a high intensity energy space. And you could feel it.
Yes.
You could feel it. And you would come out changed. You'd come out feeling as if your genes were a bit toasted, and something would have shifted inside. And this is a bit different from what you get inside stone circles, for example. But in essence also, it's very, very similar. It's just that the crop formations are more to do with, you could say, universal time, and much more particularly to do with our future and our evolution into the future. Whereas working with ancient sites has a lot more to do with anchoring to the past.
Yes.
Although it's not just the past, it is about universal truths. It's about something which is abiding, which is relevant for us today.
Yes. So.
Because I would say, I've done a lot of work on the future as well, actually. That's one other aspect.
I did see a post about the future on your website, and I thought, oh, that sounds really interesting.
Well, some years ago, 10 years ago, I wrote 7 or 8 years ago, I wrote a sort of a report on assessing the situation we're facing at the moment with real life stuff about toxicity, about urbanization, about climate, about public health, about all sorts of different things. And the issue here is that we now know more or less what we need to do in the coming decades. The problem we have is we're not doing it fully.
No.
It is being done. We are making progress in many areas, but we're not going fast enough. There isn't enough of a sense of urgency. There isn't enough investment in this whole thing. And there isn't really the willingness to go through major social, cultural, and also spiritual change, which would allow a lot of this to go on.
Yes. Yeah. There's a
But
lot.
the thing is that, so that's the agenda for the coming decades, and hopefully we're going to sort of make more progress than we do today. But there's going to be another level of work after that, once we've made some significant progress in that.
Yes.
And that's to do with working with the subtle energies of the earth, and also the subtle energies of humanity.
Yeah.
Because this is the key ingredient. This is the really key thing. You know, the earth doesn't have a problem. We've got a problem.
Exactly.
And really, if we're going to fix things to make life reasonably decent in the future for humanity and for other beings, then we do have to go through a lot of change. And we all know this, but it's got to go. It's got to go onto much more a quantum collective level. It's got to become a matter for the whole planetary race. And so this is about levels of consciousness and going into deeper levels of consciousness. One of the other things I talk about also as an astrologer, there's the matter of what I'd call power points in time, which is that there are certain times and moments where the energies are strong.
Yeah.
We just went through one just a few days ago with the new moon.
Yes.
And we are in a power time as well in the late 2020s because of a particular configuration which is going on, which involves Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto in sextiles and trines to each other. This is happening for 3 to 4 years, and it's been building up for 4 to 5 years before that, and the effects will be quite historic. The last time there was an equivalent, a comparable configuration was in the mid-1700s. And there we really do have the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. We have the philosophers of that time, Rousseau and all sorts of different people who were thinking up new ideas about the social contract, about justice, about democracy. And the Western, the European and the Western mindset was really taking shape at that time. And it was a very, very major time of cultural breakthrough, which led to 2 revolutions, the American revolutions. And we're in a parallel kind of time now, where there's a great cultural development going on of very mixed, very, very mixed proportions, because there's frightening stuff going on, as you know. You talk about that. But there are also some very incredibly positive things going on as well, which don't tend to get as much media coverage. And also we in the rich world tend to be less aware of what's going on because the real momentum now is outside the rich world. It's in the so-called developing world. What used to be called the third world,
Yeah.
That's where the action is now.
I'd like to hear
that initiative.
Sorry to interrupt. I've got a few questions.
Yeah, carry on.
To my mind.
Yeah.
Also, I'd love to know about some of those positive things that you've mentioned that are happening, because I expect there's many people that don't know about those, because we tend to be, I don't watch the news, but I hear about it. I know what's going on. But we tend to be blasted with all the negatives. So it'd be good to know about those positives and raise some awareness about that. That's one thing. But I'd just like to go back to what you were saying about places being stone circles, etc., being part of a greater constellation. That's something I'm interested in. I know Peter Knight and his work, which is fantastic, his Dartmoor Mindscapes. And through my independent explorations of Dartmoor over the last few years and looking at places like Tors that are, so say, naturally created, but have been adapted by people in different ways.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's quite, to some people, it's quite out there to say that all these places were created by people, but there's so many signs that I've seen on tours and hills and other places. You think, this doesn't look like it's been naturally created. What are your views about some of these places?
Yeah, well, this is interesting. Yes. I mean, the thing is, down here in Penwith, which is a bit of a smaller megalithic area than Dartmoor, it's a bit smaller and simpler, thank God, which has made it more manageable to work with.
Yes.
But one of the things I've really identified in Penwith is that it's not just a bunch of ancient sites, it's a complete landscape system. And this is very clear in Penwith because we're right at the end of the peninsula and we're surrounded on three sides by cliffs and ocean. And only on one side do we have land. So that puts it in a slightly different position to Dartmoor. But I would suggest that Dartmoor is a similar thing. It's a complete landscape system. However, identifying this is a bigger task. No one's done it yet in Dartmoor, but I think it would implicitly be the case that it would be so. And similarly for other major megalithic areas such as Wiltshire and Anglesey and the Isle of Lewis, the Orkneys, there are about 15, 16 different major megalithic areas in Britain. And I think it's reasonably safe to assume that they are really set up as integrated landscape. You could call them temples, landscape temples, which is an idea which John Michel put forward when he came out with his stuff 55 years ago now, with the book the View Over Atlantis, which set off this whole thing really. And so. And the interesting thing here was that this was a mixture of natural and man-made. And the people of the Neolithic, who were the people in the 3000s BCE, who were the people who really thought up the basic ideas in geomancy, they were not imposing a human thought system on nature as we would. They were drawing from nature and trying to enhance it, trying to sort of develop it further. And so the basis of this lay with that things like in the southwestern places, such as Penwith and Dartmoor, lay with the tors in particular. Also in Penwith, it's also what I call the cliff sanctuaries, the promontories sticking out into the sea around the peninsula, of which there are some a bit away from Dartmoor, places like Start Point and Berry Head and places like that are cliff sanctuaries. But that's a bit further away, and Dartmoor and Devon is more complex. It's going to take some work to really work this one out. But it is definitely safe to say that we're not talking about isolated ancient sites, isolated stone circles and stone rows and menhirs and cairns and all these kinds of things. They are all put there because they fit into a wider system, and it is based on nature and natural energy, the way that what we loosely call earth energy comes up from deep down in the earth and comes out onto the surface of the earth as vortices and energy fields and energy flows and things like this. And so it started there with those natural sites, and then they started doing things to enhance those natural sites, to kind of crank them up a bit. And it's rather like the principles behind gardening, for example, that
Yes.
humanity has early in its history, it was identifying certain species, and it thought, right, well, if we select out certain seeds and if we give them maximum attention and stuff, we can hybridize them into better forms so that they yield more food or beauty or more everything. And the primal urge behind gardening and farming is really to sort of improve on nature. It is to, in other kinds of terms, it's to build heaven on earth. We haven't exactly done that, but that was the starting urge, and that's what is within the heart of gardeners. That's why they love gardening, is that they want to grow their roses in a way which, in a way, excels. And so,
Yes.
and this was the same with the ancient sites, that they were not imposing a human mindset on nature. They were trying to identify how nature works and to amplify it, to modify it. And this, in the Bronze Age, did come to a situation where they were starting to be able to create ancient sites as well, by dint of applying geomantic rules, alignments and energy lines and all this kind of stuff, and the architecture of it. It's a moot point as to whether they were able to actually create energy, or whether they were simply able to make a trickle into a flow. It certainly has been proved that you can migrate energy centers a little bit, because modern stone circle builders and labyrinth builders and people have found that when they have established a stone circle, usually constrained by property limits, that energy moves towards it over time. And so there's the possibility of migrating it. But this was very much a sort of an interactive kind of science. And this is where we need to return to. This is where we need to return to. Our science is very much based on the imposition of human ideas on nature. And that's where the dangerous stuff is. And we also apply it very unwisely. We're rushing into genetic stuff and AI and things like that too fast.
Yes, when we haven't really understood.
We don't think about the blowback.
No.
For example, I have a personal campaign going on, just asking people, when you go to ancient sites, please switch off your phone. You are polluting the place with loud, raucous energy. You are affecting your own energy system so that the ancient site cannot work with you if you have a more powerful energy source on your being, and it's not good for you anyway.
No.
And so we tend to impose our ideas on nature, but the ancients started from a place of observing nature, really. And so this is a very, very different thing. And this is something we need to get back to in some way. That's one thing that is behind the urge to develop,
Yes, and finding these natural sources of energy that they seem to have mastered in some way.
Yeah.
Through consciousness, like you say, or harnessing the Earth's natural energies. Part of my interest as well is in these stories about lights that have been seen around some of these ancient sites, including on Penwith. Obviously, in stories, they're attributed to fairies. But I'm just wondering if you've ever encountered these lights and whether you have any thoughts about how they're generated.
Well, what we call light is the closest we can get to bundles of consciousness. So it manifests to us as light. It's not exactly light, but that's how we perceive it. because we're not fully capable of perceiving it otherwise. So yes, I've experienced, you could call them lights, particularly around crop formations, actually, where we used to call them balls of light. And the fascinating thing there was that I felt that the balls of light were visiting the crop formations a bit like surveillance drones, actually, because in my way of looking at things, the creators of the crop formations do not have any direct relationship with physical reality, with what we call physical reality. And so they need sometimes to send down entities to actually take a look and see how it worked out in actual, in those terms. And so, and because what I found was that psychically, I decided to go to see if I could interact with these, and I did. And I actually went inside some of them. And the remarkable thing was that although these balls of light are the size of a football or a bit bigger, in our physical way of perceiving things, there's this TARDIS effect.
Oh, right.
When I went inside, it was vast. It was vast.
Oh, gosh.
Right. And this is...
Yeah, amazing.
This is not too peculiar, actually. I've done this also with babies inside the womb, where I've managed to go inside with them. And in their little world inside the uterus, it's actually quite a big world initially, until they sort of grow to a certain size where they're a bit squeezed. And that's part of the physicality thing, it's getting squeezed, so you become ready to actually adopt a physical body fully at birth. And but inside that world, there's a whole big universe, in a manner of speaking.
Yes.
And so our concepts of time and space, we've got to sort of be able to move beyond those kinds of things because they're very limiting.
Yes.
I forget what you were asking, though.
No, I was asking about the lights that I've seen around these sites and crop circles as well. I've heard about.
A lot depends, of course, on our own state of being and of consciousness.
Yeah.
At that moment, at that time, our own receptivity. I'm very much one who encourages people to, when they go to ancient sites, put your camera away, put your phone away, sit or lie down, give it time. Let yourself absorb the energy field. Let the energy field absorb you. Let something come up, arise. It's a matter of just being there.
Yes.
I was taught this actually by John Michel. He and I were both hippies, basically, and we'd go to an ancient site and we'd sit down and we'd smoke a joint together. And we'd just sort of let it be. And that's where you'd start getting these revelations, And there's one particular site I go to in Penwith, which is a chambered cairn called Basiliac Barrow. And there, the entity there seems to be very interested in communicating. And whenever I've had a question in my megalithic research, I kind of go there and I just sit there. I take a flask of tea and some sandwiches and things, and I just sit there. Nice. And I spend a few hours there. And sometimes I'll get stuff, and sometimes I won't get stuff. But then when I go away, go back home, stuff will come up, insights and things. And so I find that is a very giving being there. He's interested in communicating. And so it's a matter, therefore, of how open we allow ourselves to be, so that this osmotic interchange can take place.
Yes.
And that's to do with us, to do with our protections, our shields, Again, I'm sorry to nag about mobile phones, but the thing is, when people use mobile phones, they desensitize themselves.
Yes.
Also, their body sets up a protection against the radiation. Many people, that's things like obesity. Fat is a protection.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's why we're getting an obesity problem at the moment. It's not exactly to do with lifestyles and food, although it is. It's also to do with radiation.
Okay.
Think about it. Just think about it.
Yeah, interesting.
So we've got it. That's why I would really encourage people, switch off. If you want to get in contact, switch off. Yeah?
Yeah.
Because the realm of the mobile phone is the human realm. It's what Teilhard de Chardin called the noosphere. It's the human realm. If you want to get outside the human realm, switch off, and also allow yourself to resensitize, which can take a few hours. I'm electrosensitive, and actually, if I go down into town or if I'm in a human group and I get blasted, it'll take me 2 days to really resensitize myself.
Yes. Yeah, I've had time away from Wi-Fi and phones, and especially places like being in woodlands. I've had a few days of retreat in a friend's woodland, or on the Isles of Scilly, where there's places like Dartmoor where there's hardly any electromagnetic interference. And I noticed that sensitivity then.
Yeah.
Once I've been away from it.
Yeah. So much depends on our own openness and receptivity, and how much we are willing to actually let our guards come down. So this was, for example, one of the reasons why in a lot of ancient rites they used to strip off naked. It's about taking your guards down, It's about making yourself vulnerable. And it's about getting past the in the West, very exaggerated belief that we are individuals, that we are separate from the world around us. This is a belief which is very, very harmful. And it's based in all sorts of religious conditioning, quite frankly. About what useless, low-down, sinful, rotten shits we are, in the eyes of God, apparently, which is not true, but it tends to shut us down spiritually.
Yes.
And so, and this is quite important. It particularly hits us at the moment of death. This is where everyone is confronted with it, no matter what they might have done to avoid the issue throughout their lives. It is, and if you want to transition well, then it is a matter of getting good practice in a manner of speaking, stripping yourself naked vibrationally, and becoming more vulnerable. This for me has been quite an issue, because I'm quite a sensitive soul and have been since a very young age. But also I've worked in war zones where there is heavyweight, hard, inhuman, bad stuff going on. And the fascinating thing is that, yes, I have had quite significant PTSD and this kind of thing from working in places like Palestine and Syria. But it's amazing because there's another side to things. Oh, here we come to your other question, actually, about what's good that's going on.
Yes, what's good?
Because you see, one of the things which pulled me into working in conflict zones was that you get remarkable acts of humanity. People will share their last loaf of bread. People will do quite remarkable things in order to save their fellow human beings. It changes the whole scenario. If you're highly likely to die tomorrow, then it puts you into a very, very different state spiritually, where you really have to actually develop some trust.
Yes.
And get in touch with your spirit and also to know that even if you do die, that's okay. Life carries on. You carry on. And so that's one reason why I've been very involved in that, is that there's some deep human stuff. You see, we Brits, we people living in comfortable countries like this, we're really switched down on level 3. At the moment, Palestinians are on level 9 out of 10.
I was going to say about the mobile phones as well. I think a lot of us have been noticing since 2020 that in general, not everyone, there seems to be a bit of a big sea change in this country. I've noticed with people's attitudes towards others.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot to do with what the PTSD from that time, but also to do with our increasing obsession with phones. And it's disconnecting us with our humanity, not only mentally, but as you say, in a real physical and spiritual sense.
Yes. And phone, that whole culture actually leads to quite a large amount of loneliness.
Yeah.
Loneliness is a major, major issue across the world now. Not just for old people and disabled, but in a way for everyone, including for successful people, or people who are deemed successful, or popular.
Yes.
It can be actually a very lonely thing being popular, It's very strange, So, anyway, and about some of the positive things going on in the world, the thing is, a lot of this is small scale. But I am in communication with a whole bunch of organic growers in East Africa, for example, who are doing it out of necessity, not out of moral choice like a lot of us do,
Yes. Yeah.
but because basically they don't have the money for anything else. A lot of these people are running orphanages, which is a big issue because, of what's happened over recent decades in Africa. But so they have 60 pairs of little hands, and they have a bit of land, and they're growing stuff, and they're learning things like permaculture and stuff like that, and things, and it's quite amazing. I'm really impressed. A lot of the things going on, and these people are not adopting Western ways; they're developing their own.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Pragmatically,
yes,
out of need and experimentation and common sense. One of the problems we have in the West is a lot of us are too educated.
Yeah.
And so we've conditioned our brains with all sorts of ideas, which we, in a way, need to de-educate ourselves by degrees.
Yeah.
Not totally. Unfortunately, a lot of people do also need to use their heads a bit more, But, and so there are things like that. I have worked also with people in Jordan, because the big issue there is water conservation. And this is happening on a small scale. It is not covered by the media, but switch off the media and get in touch.
Yes.
This is about something which is in a way in a different kind of world, but it's happening particularly outside the rich world.
Yes.
Yeah. There are a lot of grassroots things, including in Britain. Some amazing things, like urban farms and social, charities which are doing quite amazing things with different things, and ecological projects and all sorts of stuff. And there is and spiritual groups of different kinds.
Yes.
So this is the kind of stuff which is happening.
Yeah.
It is a matter of scale, though. We're in a period over the next few decades where we really do have a showdown going on between these two worlds. And this is one of the things, talking about Gaza, for example, many people have a lot of sympathy for the Palestinians, and it's not necessarily because they're very involved with the politics of it, but what they're seeing is a scenario which is about the people versus the mega machine. And sad for Israel, they're representing the mega machine, and sad for the Ghanaian, for the Gazans, because they're representing the people. But that archetypal energy, the battle for the hearts and minds of humanity, is what's quite stark for a lot of people. And that's why there is a wave of sympathy for the Gazans at the moment. Is this kind of thing can't go on, regardless of where it is or who's involved or what the reasons are. This kind of thing can't go on, but it's also that we are in a time at the moment where we have allowed the mega machine to extend its tentacles into all sorts of areas of our lives, and we need to be more conscious of this. We need to be more careful about what we're allowing, what we're permitting. Coming back to consciousness levels, this is totally related to the politics, but coming back to consciousness levels, we do need to come much more into contact with the entities, the energies within nature and on Earth and in the cosmos than we do. It's really important because it's a cooperation.
Yes. It is. That's why I do this podcast, so that people can tap into that.
Yeah.
That this is a very real presence. It's not something that existed before the Industrial Revolution. It's still ongoing. And we need to be connecting with those energies even more these days. And for people to hear you speaking about your work and your message is, and everyone that's connected with this work and these worlds, that then helps people to raise their consciousness, even if it's just a tiny bit, and just think, there is more than my day-to-day ordinary life, and there are other people out there. There's more in the world. There's more for me to understand and explore. Yeah. Yes.
Well, yes, indeed. And in a way, I've been giving the whole of my life to that in various different ways. Although for me, it has been, I realized when I was in middle age that I wasn't exactly here to help to exhort. I got a bit fed up, actually, of exhorting people to change. I got a bit tired of it and of running therapy groups and all this, consciousness raising events and all that. Got a bit tired of it. But on the other hand, it was, and I realized really that one of the purposes of my life is about preparing for what happens afterwards, for what happens after the change. Because what we're getting at the moment is we're getting changes that come about in the world, revolutions, for example. But then once the revolution has happened and people have got rid of the dictator or whatever it is, they all stand around saying, well, what next? And that enables power grabbers to take control.
Yeah.
And so we go into a new oppressive situation. And for example, the people of Sudan really are suffering from this particular problem at the moment. And that's what happened with the Iranian Revolution and all sorts of different things. So, so there's something here where we really need to start working with what happens afterwards as well. One of the sayings of my life has been, don't complain about the darkness, light a candle.
Yes.
Do something. Start working within your own area of interest and expertise and tendencies and stuff. Start working on developing that more so that it's there, Now I'm kind of old. I'm on my way out. I've got cancer and I've probably only got a few years left. And I'm really focusing on just getting down all the material that I've done in recent decades and making it available online as an archive, and that's what my website is. is now really, it's become more of an archive, really, because when we have made some progress on things in coming decades, people who are now either young or not yet born are going to sort of be wanting to tap into the original thinkers in this area.
Yes.
And I've found this quite a lot already. You know, people, particularly young people, you know, who are now doing PhDs in Arthurian legends and all this kind of stuff. Was unheard of 30 years ago, 30, 40, 50 years ago. But they are looking for the originals, you know, for the people who are first talking about this stuff. Not the definitive stuff, but the original stuff, you know. And I'd encourage people in your circle, you know, work on your, whatever you're good at. Leave records, leave traces, initiate people into it.
Yes.
Even your own children and grandchildren. Children tend to react against their parents, but grandchildren do tend to be interested in their grandparents. And so one of the things for me with building this archive has actually been to leave as much as I can for my grandchildren.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful archive. It's so fascinating. Thank you for creating it, Palden.
I'm a kind of a compulsive communicator, you see.
Something that I'm doing, I'm just completing a book about the fairies of the West Country, which goes into where I've gone back as far as I can to the most original sources, rather than repeating what other people have said and using my own experience. So yes, that's really important. I feel that passionately too, to leave a record that people can go, okay, so that's where that came from. And that's where that idea is from. And that's how that relates to that, you know, bigger picture. And I'm passionate about how that connects with the landscape and how these stories have come to us from the land.
Yeah.
And before we finish, there's something I just wanted to go back to, and that was your experience with stepping into the orb of light. And I just wondered how that came about and a little bit more about that whole experience. If you could share that with us, Palden, that'd be great.
Well, it just came about kind of spontaneously, really. I wasn't seeking to do that. But what happened was I was in a crop formation and I experienced two or three orbs of light going round. While I was there, I just got this sense of being watched. I got this sense that this was a consciousness. And so when I went back home, I went inside and recreated that in my kind of psyche. And I just felt myself sucked inside. It sort of blew up and suddenly poof, you know, oh. And so that's how it kind of happened. And from then on, I just sort of tried to act intelligently with it. Though I didn't meet anything or anyone inside. It was kind of like a void, but in another way, there was an incredibly strong sense of presence there, or even of crowds. Not exactly there, but the trouble is that when we're talking about these kinds of dimensions, space and time and stuff don't apply.
Yes.
But they do. But there was a presence of crowds within this beingness, which was this ball of light from the outside. You know, so it was a very great sense of blessing, actually, and I did get a sense of the beings behind it. That this was a bit like a drone.
Oh, right.
You know, it was a bit like a surveillance drone, which was coming to take a look and to see how it had actually worked out. Because the beings who are creating these things are, in a manner of speaking, so high that they really don't have a connection with actual physical earthly things. I had this again since I got cancer 6 years ago. I've been calling on what I call some inner doctors. Mm-hmm. And some of these guys don't seem to be of this earth either. I have quite strong connections with ETs. And as a result, they don't actually know what knees are or what stomachs are. They just see energy fields.
Mm.
And so I've had to sort of visualize for them what a knee is like, what my bony structure is like, because I have a cancer which affects my bones quite a lot, and things like that. And it's been a very, very remarkable kind of experience, actually, where I've had, well, all I can say is that the specialist in Treliske Hospital says, well, Mr. Jenkins, I don't know what you do. I don't really think I want to know. But on the other hand, whatever you're doing, just carry on.
Oh, that's so inspiring.
I'm breaking all the rules.
Yes.
I should actually be dead, you see. And I'm a bit bewildered about why I'm alive still. Because I really did feel as if I was going to die about 5-6 years ago. But so there's this interdimensional thing, and one of the actual gifts I've had, and I'd submit this for your consideration too, which is one of the great positive gifts of cancer.
Yes,
is that it is really one of the best growth gifts you could have. It's not that I'm saying that you ought to get cancer, but basically if you do get cancer, and if you treat it that way, or another serious ailment, if you treat it that way, then it is a source of immense enlightenment and healing in its own right. And you can again break the rules.
Yes, so I'm a carer, and I help other carers. That's what I do, because I care for my daughter, and I was caring for my mother up until she died last September from a blood cancer.
All right.
And my experience of her gradual death was that she let go of so many human emotions and things that she'd been holding.
Yeah.
It was a real transformation to the point where I would say in the last couple of months, it's almost she was emanating this light.
Yeah.
It was incredible to see.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I didn't expect it to be like this. Yeah, so it's quite...
because she kind of gave permission and deep down.
Yes.
She decided not to struggle, or at least she probably did struggle, but she decided to let it go, let it flow.
She did. Yeah. It was like a real, like you say, a real sort of, letting go. It's like, well, this is happening.
Yeah. But the same issues, or similar issues, happen with childbirth as well. It's very, very similar. And the sense of angelic presence, or however you'd see it, is very similar too,
Yes, I had that.
We do ourselves a disservice by looking on death as something that's wrong and a kind of a failure. That's a cultural belief, which unfortunately, and this whole idea of fighting cancer, oh dear, give us a break, No, you've got to make friends with it.
Yes.
Cancer is it's a gift of consciousness. And whether you're going to survive or whether you're going to die, it is a way of, it's one of the most remarkable ways of inner growth that you could be given, frankly. For example, I did an ayahuasca journey a year ago, and it was great. Quite frankly, it made me aware that cancer was doing all this anyway.
Yeah.
Because it takes down your shields.
Yes, it does.
Makes you vulnerable. It makes you vulnerable to things, and that's one of the greatest gifts that a Westerner can actually have in a strange kind of way. Yeah. Although it has its difficulties too, but that's we're so well guarded up, and we've got this psychic shield around us, which is really not doing us a lot of good.
No.
And people like Mr. Trump and Mr. Netanyahu and people, they have extra strong versions of that, talking to themselves. But, and I pity people like that. I'm sad for people like that. Have compassion, for the people that you would tend to dislike.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so lovely to speak to you, Palden. It's been
my pleasure.
Amazing. Thank you.
And nice to meet you, and hello to all your listeners.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks to everyone that's been listening to this conversation. It's been a real honour to have you on. And once again, your website is...
It's palden.co.uk.
Yeah. Please check it out. You'll find a wealth.
I have another site as well, if you're interested, which is ancientpenwith.org. But you'd find it on palden.co.uk anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Palden. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. As we close, the presence of those ancient places linger. The stone circles, the alignments, the quiet intelligence of the land that Palden speaks of so beautifully. They are living points of connection between earth and sky, past and present, human and more than human. Whether in Glastonbury, Penwith, or the far Northern Isles, they invite us to slow down, listen differently, and remember our place within a much older conversation. Palden's reflections on grassroots creativity and resilience also offer a hopeful reminder that even in challenging times, people are finding new ways to reconnect with nature, community, and the subtle energies that sustain us. Thank you for joining me on this journey into Palden's world. If you'd like early release episodes and occasional behind-the-scenes notes from my creative process, you're warmly welcome to join the Fairy Whispering Patreon community. Until next time, may the mysteries and magic of ancient sites walk beside you, and may their wisdom and fairies rise gently through the earth to greet you. Goodbye for now, and see you next time.